Hey folks, quick plug before we get into today's episode. I'll be at the HubSpot AI Summit 2025 in San Francisco on June 11th. This is an invite-only event that's bringing together some of the top founders, enterprise leaders, and investors in the AI ecosystem. I'm joining some colleagues from Replit and LiveX AI for a session on how autonomous agents are starting to disrupt the SaaS ecosystem and what it means for go-to-market, product strategy, and how we build software in the next decade. I've got 10 invites to share with listeners of the science of scaling. If you're building in this space or investing in early stage AI and think you should be in the room, request a spot with the link I'll put in the description and make sure to put Science of Scaling in the referred by field. I'll review and handpick the 10 folks who will get approved. Hope I see you there.
Your number one job as an entrepreneur anyway is to sell. If you are not comfortable selling, you need to get comfortable selling.
Founder selling. It's a phrase that's gotten more popular in the last decade. More and more product founders, technical founders realize that's their job in the early days. The first dozen customers, the first few dozen conversations, stay close to the market, get the beta, get the design partners, get the first revenue. But I think the mistake is they think it's over once that's done, once they get the A, once they hire the professional team. No, the founder still has a role. Not just with the customers and the investors and selling them and the buying the vision, but still in the funnel, at the revenue, with the reps. Probably one of the best in the business is Frederic Kerrest, the co-founder of Okta. Today, in our last episode of the season, we're going to unpack how he magically navigated those waters and brought Okta to a successful IPO. I'm Mark Roberge, and this is the Science of Scaling. So hey, Freddie, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me. Thrilled to be here. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Well, thanks, man. You've been so supportive of everything, and it's awesome to see all the great success. Let's unpack it. Talk to us. How was it? Was the first ideation during the classroom?
My co-founder, Todd McKinnon, was the head of engineering and product at Salesforce. While I was there, he started in 2003, so the year after me, and he was there until 2009 when we started. We started Okta second year, second semester at MIT. We started working on it together, kind of dating in that spring semester. Right before I graduated, we said, hey, you know what? We're not exactly sure what this integration is going to be. In fact, at first, it wasn't identity where we ended up. It was system management. It was something else. But we said, hey, we think there's something here, and let's go try and figure it out together. And that was the founding of Okta.
Were you capitalized at that time, or you guys doing nights and weekends, ramen noodle, bootstrapping, or did you get a seed check or something?
The latter, no seed checks. So we were the seed checks. We both wrote checks into the company. And then we raised a friends and family seed round. Yeah, we raised a seed round of $1 million in the summer of 2009. And that got us going.
When did you decide you wanted to start trying to charge for the thing?
Yeah, the first few years were definitely hard. I mean, first of all, the macro was hard, right? This is the Great Recession or whatever. So people were not buying software. People were not investing. You know, it was, although it turns out in hindsight, obviously we were geniuses because you should always start these kind of companies during downturns.
Heck yeah.
But it took us 2.5 years to get a product that was really out there, that could work at scale with hundreds or thousands of users.
It is very common that these more IT ops, DevOps, more middle layer take longer to get to something that can be sold because there's such a high bar for security. You talked about the $1 million angel check. I'm assuming that wasn't enough to get to, this product being ready, these 2-year journey. Can you talk about how that unfolded?
For sure. We raised a Series A, so we raised $1 million of convertible debt in a safe in the summer of 2009. And I'd spent a little bit of time in venture capital while I was at MIT, working at Hummer Winblad Venture Partners, now known as Aspenwood Ventures, working for Mark Gornberg, who's actually the chair of the MIT Corporation now. Everyone said, well, don't go back to business school for your second year, just stay in venture capital. And I said, well, that's interesting. So I used the opportunity to go out and meet actually 20 different venture capitals. And they said, well, do you want to get a job? And I said, no, I'm going back to MIT and then I'm going to build a company. But it was great because then I'd met them. So at least we had a way to, to get to know them. But one thing in particular that stuck with me in my time in venture capital was entrepreneurs did a poor job of under promising and over delivering. They'd come in with these giant plans and say, I'm going to crush this, I'm going to crush that. And then they'd show back up 6 or 12 or 24 months later, and they'd miss their massive plan. And they'd still done well, but it had missed the promises they'd made to the investors. And the investor was like, well, Whereas if the dynamics had been shifted and they'd set a lower bar and come in and beat that bar, it would have been up and to the right.
Hey folks, just Mark here. Yeah, this is what I really see amongst serial entrepreneurs and even like VPs of sales and CROs. Like the lesser experienced folks are just overly optimistic, like promising the sun. And I fell into this trap myself. But like once you get experience, and you see this a lot in like really good like football coaches, for example. And that's what I did. Like we had one up here in New England, Bill Belichick, right? Like who was famous for this, where it's like, when I showed up to the board and gave the update, you couldn't tell if I missed by 20% or beat by 200%. It was just the same thing. It was like, hey, this is what we did well. This is what's off. This is what I'm worried about. And this is our plan. That's what they want to hear. They know that not every business crushes every quarter. Not every business is going to hit their every single plan. But they just want to make sure that you're on top of it. You're diagnosing it well. You're being realistic about the expectation. And Freddie is crushing this out of the gate. He's managing a seed-funded business as if it's public. Let's get back to him.
But instead, you should probably set some metrics that you can beat and raise. Just think about being a public company when you're a seed-funded company, basically. And be like, okay, I'm going to beat and raise. Every quarter, every 6 months, I'm going to beat and raise the number, just like you do when you have earnings. You know, you always have a chance to reset also right after financing. So you can have this whole plan, and then right after the financing, you know, this is a little dirty secret that our venture friends are not going to like. But the reality of it is that first board meeting after the financing has closed, you can come in and say, you know what, we really scrubbed the plan, and I think this is where it's going to come in. And I know it's 20% lower than what you have in the data room that you did the diligence on, but I think this is a good plan, and kind of reset from there.
Love it. Love it. All right. So let's get to some of like the go-to-market stuff.
Great.
So like talk to us how, okay, fine. Andreessen Horowitz like gives the check. You're Todd's building the product. Like how is the go-to-market developing in parallel in these early days?
You know, just living and learning and talking to people. I think one of the big mistakes that entrepreneurs make, especially, you know, very smart entrepreneurs, will sit there in their ivory tower and build something and say, you know, it's kind of like the Kevin Costner movie, if I build it, they will come. Field of Dreams. It's actually, that's not how it works. No. How it works in particular in enterprise software, right, is you have to go out and you have to talk to these folks. There's a couple good books that I recommend people look at. 0 to 1 is a good one, Peter Thiel. The 4 Steps to the Epiphany, Steve Blank's kind of an older one from him. Beautiful. But it basically just says, hey, go out and talk to people and understand and show them drawings, show them pictures, show them documents, show them the product. And we did that. And so starting in, I think, August of 2009, for 4 months, I had a monthly plan where I had to go talk to 18 net new IT professionals and just talk to them and say, hey, what kind of problems do you have? Do you have this problem? Would you use this? Would you buy this? You know, how would you think about this? Some months I missed my number. I had them all color-coded. I still saw, I pulled this out like 6 months ago. I was looking at it. It's like green, yellow, red for each of the names and what date I talked to them.
This is just like classic, you know, pursuit of product market fit in the Science of Scaling framework. It's like, yeah, go in front, get, 18 calls a month. And yeah, they're going to gravitate small. That's fine. As long as they're in TAM, that's who we get in front of. He's not going in and pitching, this is my product. You know, what do you think? He's talking about problems. In fact, he's leading in with like, I've been studying this particular space. I'd love to share my findings. Perfectly aligned with the awareness stage and gets them talking about the problem so you can understand if you're even focused on the right problem and reading the market right before you actually present the product. And then finally, like he's getting the meetings through the network. We need 100 meetings. That means we need to reach out to 300 people. And of those 100 meetings, we're going to get 20 customers. So he's combing the alumni network, his past work network, his VCs network. That's how we get to those first meetings. We don't need to stand up this like very sophisticated outbound cold calling or inbound marketing program at this point. We need to achieve product market fit and get those early beta customers. This is the Science of Scaling, pursuit of product market fit down to the T. Let's get back to Freddie.
It was super valuable. And it was like, no one's going to talk to you. 2 guys in a trick duck in a garage. So it was using the networks. It was banging the phones. It was like,
yeah, that's what I wanted to unpack, because a lot of the founders, they're just sitting here being like, how the heck did you get in front of these people?
Yep.
Help them put that together.
You are an SDR. You are a sales development rep. I mean, your number one job as an entrepreneur anyways to sell. If you are not comfortable selling, you need to get comfortable selling. Now, I'm not saying you need to become a 7-figure ACV sales rep, right? But you need to be comfortable convincing people and talking to people, and you need to get out from behind email. Well, they didn't get back to me. Well, what do you mean? Well, I sent them an email. I mean, how many personal emails do you get every day, Mark? Personal emails,
That's
hundreds.
crazy.
Email is what other people want you to do. It's not what you should be doing. You need to be able to become a communicator on the value of what you're trying to build. It's true for hiring. It's true for raising money, right? You got to convince investors of what you're going to do. It's true for everything. All the time, is a practice of going through my LinkedIn network. Think about what jobs you had and what those alumni networks are. And I was just inside the university databases. I was inside LinkedIn all day long, cold calling people, figuring out what email taglines worked, right? Highlighting what I had known in the past. And then the last big thing I would say is, in these kinds of things, people are willing to help you, but point out to them what you can bring to them too. Make sure it's like a two-way thing. So when I call you, I say, hey, Mark, I have this new product. I'd love to show it to you. You're like, okay, great. Yeah, maybe I'll do it. I mean, I know Frederic or someone asked me as a favor. If I say, hey, Mark, I'd love to update you on the latest of what's going on in AI and cybersecurity in Silicon Valley. By the way, I have a product that I think is addressing some of these issues and concerns, and I'd love to bring it up to you. Is it okay if we schedule 20 minutes? I'm happy to start with the AI cyber piece and answer any questions you have. Turns out that if you're willing to do something back the other way, make it a two-way street, you'll get a lot more and better response. One of the really good things I like about Steve Blank's approach is the hardest thing in business is separating someone from their wallet.
That's the final decision point. Do they write the check? Do they cut the budget? And that's what I like to do, like even before I have the product, right? We've talked about in this past, but it's just like, okay, Steve, thank you so much for elaborating on the issues. It's actually interesting that, what you talked about is just like the 73 other people we spoke to, and we're going to launch that product in 2 months. And it's going to be like $50,000 a year, but we're just looking for 5 design partners to sign a letter of intent to be our first 5 design partners. And in exchange, we're going to give you a 90% discount at $5,000. Would you sign that right now? No, I won't. Now the real stuff happens. Or yes, I will. I'm dead serious. This is really good stuff. But by pushing them to separating them from their wallet gives us the real feedback. It's the differentiation between a false positive and a true positive. Let's get back to Freddie.
You're like, oh, would you use this product? Oh, yeah, of course. Okay, would you use products if I charge you $100,000? Like, whoa, wait, what? And so figuring out what is really the problem, what people are really willing to pay for, which usually is pretty simple, right? In enterprise software, you're usually increasing revenue, you're decreasing costs, you're enhancing security. Like, it's not too hard to figure out the ROI, return on investment, the TCO, total cost of ownership, buckets of what it could possibly be, but really identifying that and then helping them stick a number on it. This is why I'm going to buy your thing, because it's going to help me build more and grow more and sell more, or because I'm going to save a bunch of money, or I'm not going to get hacked, or whatever it is. Just figuring out what that is, those are the key parts of early sales.
I imagine some of those early conversations with the IT director, you didn't have anything to sell them yet.
No.
Was there ways to push them toward like, okay, now let's see if this is really a false positive or a true positive?
First of all, let's talk a little bit about enterprise sales. Enterprise sales is not transactional. Buying a pencil is transactional. You go to a store, you want to buy a pencil, you don't want to buy a pencil. It's $3. It's very simple. Do you buy it or don't buy it? Enterprise software is not that way. You're not going to walk in and say, oh, you want to buy my cybersecurity software for $50,000? You don't want to buy it. No, it's a process. And so a lot of times enterprise sales is relationship sales, especially in those early days. And so it's like, who's the person and what do they care about and what are their goals and what are they trying to get done inside a company? And you got to remember, in enterprise sales, a lot of times the goal of the meeting is to have another meeting. So I think that, when you're pushing someone towards it, to use your terminology, what you're really doing, especially early when you don't have product, is you're just trying to see if there is a potential demand for what you're trying to do. back in the day, it took a lot longer to build product. Today, you can build products a lot faster, and you can build them much more inexpensively. So I would actually argue that like the lessons that we learned there should actually be modified for today's world. So today, it's like you should have it up and running. You should be able to spin the core of it up at least so that people can have an idea of what you're trying to do and how it could be valuable to them from the get-go, right? And so you can do that much more quickly, much more efficiently, effectively today. So, but yeah, you're trying to get them to say, okay, is this valuable to you? Okay, what are the top 3 problems you have? Is this one of the top 3 problems you have? And then understand, I mean, we should probably talk at a very high level about sales methodologies. I mean, just understanding basic sales methodologies. And a lot of times today, I can think of multiple times this week already when I've talked to technical founders who are CEOs and I've said, hey, well, what's going on with your sales process? And they're like, time out. What does that mean, sales process?
I have a deck that explains what my product does. That's my sales process.
Exactly. Totally. And at the end, there's an ask. I think that there has been a great refinement of sales methodologies and sales processes in the last 20 years too that are very advantageous to today's technical founders. I advocate something pretty simple like MEDDIC, which you can look up, right? Which
perfect
just
for Okta's approach. Yep.
It's perfect. We actually made it a little more complicated. We use MEDDPICC, so you can start to add in different pieces, but something very simple. Who's buying? Why are they buying? What's their process? Are you replacing something or increasing revenue? Are you creating new category? Is it a greenfield opportunity? Are you going to be more evangelical, or is it going to be very clear that this is a better mousetrap than what you had before and it's 10x better? Who's going to be your coach, right? Who's going to be your champion? What's the difference between a coach and a champion? And by the way, who's trying to like jam you when you're not there? You're guaranteed whatever super innovative product you're bringing to market is going to upset someone's apple cart.
Yeah, the sales playbook is not a presentation about your product, about the features and benefits. It's how you navigate this conversation. It's how you qualify. It's how you discover. It's how you uncover pains. It's how you understand if this is a champion or a coach. And yet MEDDIC is perfect for them, right? Metrics, economic buyer, decision maker, decision process, identify pain, competition. Great for complex enterprise sales. And he customized it to MEDDPICC, which is a popular customization. So point number 1, you need that. Point number 2, you start with the vanilla one and you can customize it to your business. You add one more point, you take away one, right? Other popular ones, BANT, budget, authority, need, timing. Super simple. I like to have most people start there, especially if you're not doing enterprise sales. You can try from winning by design. You could do SPICE, situation, pain, impact, critical event, and then decision, right? And then, or GPCT. That's what we used at HubSpot. Goal, plan, challenge, timeline. Really great for discovery. But bottom line is, hopefully you're getting a better picture of like the sales playbook is not the pitch deck. It's more complicated than that. It's really about understanding the buyer, their qualification, their pain, their ability to make a decision. Let's get back to Freddie.
And just like understanding those little dynamics inside companies is very, very valuable. And it's not rocket science, but it's a tractable problem. But you just have to know what to do.
And when we were talking, you've told me a few times about the Tulsa, Oklahoma story.
Yeah.
And sure. I think that's a great representative example of that. So, like, when was that? And why don't you tell the audience how that unfolded?
February and March of 2011. But I know what month it is because the whole thing started because I got the month wrong. So we had this opportunity in this company, oil pipeline servicing company. And they were looking for a new identity management solution. This is 2011. They bought Salesforce. They bought Workday. Their big thing was Workday. And Workday as a master was brand new functionality for us. So we were just trying to get it to work. And I remember they said, okay, well, there's 2 finalists. And they said, hey, come visit us in Oklahoma. I said, great, I'd love to. So I go to the airport, SFO, and they said, well, this is a great ticket, but this is the wrong month. And I said, well, what do you mean? It's the right day of the week, Sunday, and it's the right day of the month, but it's the wrong month because February has 28 days. They're like, well, this is a great ticket, but this ticket's actually for the month of March. And they're like, the flight that you want, the direct to Tulsa from SFO on Sunday afternoon is full. So I call the director of IT who had set up the meeting with the CIO. And I said, hey, Jeremiah. I mean, I remember his name. I said, Jeremiah, how's it going? He said, oh, Frederic. I said, I'm really sorry to bother you on a Sunday, but here's kind of my situation. I'm at the airport and they don't have a flight for me today. And I was wondering, is it okay if I just, fly in tomorrow night? And he's like, well, I understand your predicament, but that's not possible. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, there's 2 finalists. You're going tomorrow. The other guy's going Tuesday. We're making a decision. So you got to be here tomorrow morning. I wish you the best of luck. And I'm like, all right. So I go back to the terminal. Anyway, long story short, I ended up having to get a red eye through Chicago, which, as you know, is not really a red eye, and then transferring at like 6 a.m. to a flight to Tulsa. I land in Tulsa at like 8 a.m. and it's a blizzard.
Oh,
Okay. Get to my hotel. I go to the front desk. I'm like, okay, I'm going to need a cab in like an hour or 2 to get to this. And the lady laughs. And I said, well, I'm just asking for a cab. She said, do you see what's going on outside? I'm like, yeah, it's a blizzard. She's like, there's no cabs coming. And I was like, well, I need to get like 2 miles down the road. And she's like, well, I understand and I'm sympathetic to your plight, but that's not going to happen. So I'm like, okay, I've got a suit and tie on. I'm like, all right.
Oh.
So I put on my jacket and I walk down a regional highway and I get to the office. I get to the place like 20 minutes ahead of time and I'm dripping wet. And I walk in the door and, the person at the front desk is like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm here for a meeting with, so-and-so and so-and-so. And they're like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm great. Why? And they're like, you're totally drenched. So she was nice enough to go to their on-site gym and got me a towel. And I'm wringing out my suit pants and they're dirty and grimy. I mean, I'm disgusting. And I use the towel to clean myself up as best as I can. And I walk in and Jeremiah, the director of IT, is like, well, it's good to see you. I'm glad you can make it, so-and-so. And the CIO walks in. He's like, what happened to you? And I'm like, it's a long story, but the bottom line is I'm here. We're very excited about this opportunity. Let me talk to you about it, blah, blah, blah. 2-hour sales call, went back to my hotel, flew out the next morning. And, a month later, we got the deal.
Unbelievable, man. Biggest question I get every day. How do you build the next unicorn? How do you build predictable, scalable revenue growth? Luckily, the folks at HubSpot have put together the Science of Scaling database. Real playbooks from companies that have gotten to the scale of like 40 billion in market cap. The playbooks cover key decisions like hiring, compensation, go-to-market strategy, ICP development, even stuff on AI in sales. All from the folks behind the fastest growing companies in tech. It's not fluffy. It's super tactical. You know my content, you know my brand. It's stuff that you're gonna pick up, download, and put to use within an hour. So head to the description, click on the link, and download your free copy to start scaling your business today. Talking about being a co-founder with a sales orientation and then building and leading a team. Now you also hire a VP of sales.
Yeah.
So can you just talk about those dynamics as you hit that next stage of growth?
So first of all, you always should be the salesperson as the CEO or the founder from day one. I close the first 20 customers. You need to not disassociate yourself with actually what's going on. And you need to listen carefully. You need to be the fennec fox, not the alligator, right? Small mouth, big ears. Not big mouth, small ears. And you need to do a lot of active listening. What is this person telling me? What are these customers telling me? What's the trend that I'm seeing that they're actually talking to me about? The challenge when you intermediate with a salesperson is salesperson's trying to hit a number. They're trying to hit a quota. So they're going to come back to you and say, we absolutely need to build this feature.
Yes.
And you'll be like, do we need to build? Oh, yeah. If we build this feature, we're going to get this big customer and everyone else wants it. Turns out no one else wants it. Turns out that's the only customer that needs it. And it's a really corner case. And you're going to use your precious resource of engineering and product to build this one thing that one person might want. They might or might not even need it to do the deal. But if you're not talking to the customer, you don't get all of that, beta on what's actually going on. So that's the first thing. Second thing is you want to build a lot through customer marketing, customer success. And to do that, you have to build champions and you have to build relationships with these people who are going to help you grow your company. And if it's like up front and early on, they're buying into you. They're buying into you and your vision and your promise and your personality and your commitments.
I actually think I learned this one from Salesforce. I bet that's where Freddie picked it up too. I'm going to even expand it beyond just general references and selling against the competition. I invested time just like Freddie did. It's like, okay, I invested my time on the folks that switched from our competition. Right? Yeah, whatever. We're closing 500 customers a month or 500 customers a quarter. But like, here's 2 customers that switched from our competition. I call them up. Thank you so much for the business. Very excited. Why'd you decide to switch? By the way, here's my cell phone. Call me directly as CRO anytime you need anything. And by the way, you're in Chicago, Bill. Next time I'm there, I'll take you to steak dinner. How's that sound? Oh, you're in Seattle, Mary. Next time I'm there, why don't we grab a coffee together? Why are they getting that attention? I just want to hear feedback. I want to stay close to customers. I'd like to stay close with you. And the only favor in return is maybe once a month, if we have a customer that's considering competitor A and us, I want my salespeople to be trained to say, hey, would you like to talk to a customer that's used both? And I'd like if you be okay to take that call. It's like a beautiful approach to competitive selling, to building up those references, and to really creating a high scalable, high impact opportunity as a C-level executive. Let's get back to Freddie.
You always need to start, number one. Number two, you should always hire 3 salespeople. Once you kind of have enough that someone can get going and replicate what you're doing, always hire them in 3s. Hire them 3s because they're competitive. Hire them 3s because it'll be great learning for you. All salespeople, even if you give them methodology, they'll have their own way of selling. You'll see what works better or what doesn't work. And then finally, you can put a scoreboard up, and they're very competitive people. And finally, you don't know what the quotas are. You're like, oh, quota should be $1 million. If you hire 3 and one does 1.1, one does 3.6, probably $3 million. So just so much more learning in that. In my opinion, it's like after that, if you're really starting to see traction and success, it probably makes sense to hire your first sales manager. We could talk about the criteria, the qualifications, who you're actually looking for, who you're not looking for. If you want to hire a player coach who carries a bag but also manages the first 3, that's okay too. If it's super technical, you might have to have a sales engineer or 2, and then you slowly build the machine.
Yeah, I love that.
I want to add one more thing on salespeople, which I think is misunderstood. People say, well, do I have enough pipeline to hire salespeople? And what you'd be surprised about is that salespeople create pipeline, in particular in enterprise and in particular in the field. So a lot of times I'll see people are saying, yep, my enterprise sales motion is working. I'm selling into upper mid-market, lower true enterprise. I'm thinking of hiring a first few salespeople. Ooh, I don't know if I should hire one in Dallas and Chicago just yet because fill in the blank. And the answer is maybe, but maybe not. And you got to realize that when you're hiring a salesperson in Dallas, if you're hiring the right person, they've probably been there 20 years. They probably have a bunch of connections. They probably know a lot of people. They probably built a lot of really successful relationships. So actually hiring that person, of course, you need some pipeline. You need some marketing coverage. You need some event coverage. You need some inbound lead flow. You need some partner network to generate some opportunities for them. But you'd be shocked that that person is also going to create their own pipeline because they're going to call the last 10 buyers who are now good friends of theirs, who they bring to sporting events, who they go to cook-offs with, and they're going to say, hey, actually, I've got a new opportunity for you, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, who I've worked with for 10 years, who trusts me. Let me come and show you what I'm up to now. Don't say to yourself, oh man, I can only hire sales reps once I have pipeline coverage. And if you wait for that, you're probably too late.
That's a great point, especially in this day where like the age of PLG and MQLs and so much more dominance and heavy-handed role by marketing. It's not always that dependency. You don't have to wait. It's
not.
Like that.
And by the way, the agents are not going to be buying 7-figure deals from the agents anytime soon. So enterprise software where you're trying to do 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure ARR deals will, for now and for the rest of my lifetime, be done between people. It's not companies buying software from companies at that size. It's people buying software from people. And that's why it's so important as the founder to understand that, to identify and associate with that, but also to realize that like you're going to be creating these relationships. I still have amazing relationships with customers that started as customers 15 years ago, where now we go skiing together, or we'll share book recommendations or whatever else it is. And so, these are just people. They're trying to solve a problem, and hopefully you have them for them, but also you can build a great relationship. The AI is coming, and we'll talk a little bit about that, but enterprise sales as a practice, as a profession, and as an expertise is not going anywhere.
All right, now let's talk a little bit. We got like 5 minutes or so. Great. AI. Like what are you can go in any direction, whether it's like challenges to the go-to-market playbook, future in cybersecurity. Also like you and I lived through the on-prem to cloud transition, which you can draw some historical analogs to try to pontificate on what's going to happen in the cloud to AI. So whatever you're excited about.
I think that there's a lot of tools and techniques, that processes and systems that salespeople, frankly, can use to make themselves more efficient and effective, to increase, their value to companies, but without worrying that the AI is going to replace you. So certainly, let's talk about some specific things. I think it'll certainly help salespeople, in my opinion, in ways like focusing, qualifying leads faster, making sure that they're focusing on what the opportunities might be that they can't see. It's not obvious, but maybe there's a company in there in the lead set that should pop for whatever reason. I don't think it's going to change. Look, large deals are still going to be face-to-face meetings, and so people should realize that. But I think there's a lot of ways to enhance all of the work. I mean, how much work did we used to do as sales professionals just prepping things and writing our meeting notes and filling out the templates and making sure that we communicated up and down our internal organization. And a lot of that can be automated. And that's great. That's busy work.
You clearly had an amazing vision as you saw on-prem switch to cloud that led to the birth of Okta. Now, granted, it pivoted a little bit. But do you see, I don't know how to ask this, like if you were to restart like that, solve that problem in the AI world, does it change, and do you see a similar vision there?
In enterprise infrastructure and cybersecurity, I definitely see new opportunities that are rising all the time. I mean, I'm gonna keep out the AI native new innovation around LLMs and all those kinds of things, because that's just, foundational models. And unfortunately, all that value is going to accrue to the hyperscalers anyway, just because they have all the capital, they have all the resource, they have all the compute, and they have all the data. So I think that's it. It's unfortunate, but I think it's going to be like the larger going to get larger. But when it comes to enterprise infrastructure and cybersecurity, I think absolutely. First of all, the way to process, I mean, there's so much signal in today's world on who Mark is, where Mark's authenticating from, how he's getting into services, what services he's getting into. Oh, Mark's actually using AI. Which AI platform is he using? Ooh, does he actually have the right to use that data in the AI? Oh, when Mark's logged into an AI interface and he's trying to do something, what data is he actually authorized to go and access? And how fine-grained is that access? So complexity, it's almost like the matrix just went up a dimension on addressing cybersecurity and a lot of the infrastructure opportunities. It's just shocking to see like privacy is kind of like, a fast follower in AI, and I don't know that that's necessarily ideal.
That could be dangerous.
That could be very dangerous. So yeah, I think there's a ton of opportunity. The other thing is you also see these cybersecurity and infrastructure software companies growing so much faster than we did. You can see them going. Yeah, I mean the acceleration because of that opportunity is really amazing.
A big part of your motivation with these new ventures is your philanthropic side. You want to talk for a second about any organizations that you're excited about, that you're supporting?
We started Okta for Good when we were very, very young as a company. In fact, some of our investors thought that we should focus more on building the business in those early days than Okta for Good, but it all worked out okay. The same is true, in my personal life. The book's a great example. You should all buy a copy of the book, Zero to IPO. All the profits go to two amazing nonprofits that help Black and underrepresented kids stay in school using entrepreneurship and leadership. There are some amazing organizations. Build.org is one of them.
That's where mine goes too. Love it. Love Build. It
started in Boston, and then it came out throughout North America. The Hidden Genius Project is an amazing group that actually started here in my backyard in Oakland, and that has now gone out. Tipping Point organization, which helps poverty and homelessness throughout the Bay Area. The Greenlight Fund, which was started by John Simon, actually out of Boston, founder of General Catalyst, who does an amazing job. And then, I mean, there's so many others, but I think it's really important, especially in this day and age when some of the federal and local funding might be on hold for a little while, that those of us who can support these organizations continue to do so. So I appreciate you bringing it up. I think it's really important.
Thank you for being supportive of so many of my ventures, including, coming onto the show. And this has been such an important gem for the ecosystem in enterprise sales and general go-to-market and how to build a unicorn. So thanks for being here, Freddie.
Thanks all for having me, Mark. I really enjoyed it and appreciate the opportunity.
All right, that does it for today, folks. Our episode was written and produced by my favorite producer, Matthew Brown. Editing comes from Patrick Edwards. The Science of Scaling is a proud part of HubSpot Media. And if you like what you heard today, make sure you follow or subscribe to us wherever you're a fan of the show. And if you're a founder ready to scale, check out my VC firm, Stage 2 Capital. We are backed by over 800 CROs, CMOs, CCOs from the best companies in tech, and we're ready to help with your scaling journey. Okay, see you on the next episode.
Today's episode is brought to you by HubSpot for Startups. Right now with HubSpot for Startups, eligible startups can save 30 to 75% on the AI-powered and connected CRM that 248,000 plus customers, including some of the fastest growing startups, trust to increase leads, accelerate sales, and streamline customer service. Grow better and scale smarter. Visit HubSpot.com/HubSpot for Startups or click the link in the episode description.